Welcome to the Fantasy Football Profit Podcast, hosted by Craig Phillips and Jeff Torrey. Visit us at fantasyfootballprofit.com. And now your hosts, Craig and Jeff.
Welcome everyone to the Fantasy Football Profit Podcast. I'm Craig Phillips with another solo show today. Jeff's still out for the week here, so I'm talking waiver wire pickups today. I'm going to go over some of my top waiver pickups for the week. And the way we do it around here is we go to the ESPN and we take players that are owned in 40% of leagues or less to make our recommendations. Because, sure, there's some other better options out there than these guys, possibly under 40%, but most of those guys aren't really available for you. They're just not. So I'm going to go over the guys under 40% here in just a minute. But before I do that, make sure you guys go check us out on Twitter at the FF Profit. Follow us there. Follow us on Instagram as well at instagram.com/fantasyfootballprofit. Check out our YouTube page, youtube.com/fantasyfootballprofit. And you can always go support us as well on Patreon at patreon.com/fantasyfootballprofit. So I'm going to get into the list here really quick. And this shouldn't probably come as a surprise to anybody. Who I have number one on my list for the pickups for week 2 here is going to be Marquise Brown, Baltimore. Just a ridiculous game he put together there. But the craziest thing, actually, with these numbers that he was able to put up is he only played 12 snaps, which was I don't know. I don't really know how to take that. Just the numbers were huge in a limited time. Does that mean they're going to give him more time? Is it just kind of a fluky situation? They're playing the Dolphins. They're probably not going to do that again. But, yeah, all that's probably true. But Brown looked really good. He showed, some signs that he can be a really good player. So I think he's 100% worth the pickup here. He ended up with 4 catches, 147 yards, 2 touchdowns in those 12 snaps that he played. But it was impressive, very impressive in a limited amount of work. So he's going to be my number one waiver wire suggestion for this week in the 40% and under category. And yeah, you're not going to probably replicate what he did against Miami. That's just going to be tough. But he's going to be involved. And yeah, this is a guy he should be owned. He was only owned in 28.2% of ESPN leagues heading into week 1. So that number is going to skyrocket for Brown as we get going here. And yeah, he is my number one for sure. The other ones here, some more wide receivers. I have a really hard time with this one. I'm going to put John Ross here. And John Ross is, we've been waiting for this for, this is the 3rd season now, waiting for a breakout. And it wasn't happening. He was hurt a lot. And I just can't say for sure. This doesn't feel quite real yet. It was an odd game. They threw the ball a lot. Probably is not going to happen again like that. And he ended up with 7 catches, 158 yards, 2 touchdowns. I want to believe this though, actually. I think I sound like a broken record on this show he was a top 10 draft pick. He was that for a reason. He's an extremely talented player. Why can't this be for real? He's a 3rd-year wide receiver. He's finally healthy. AJ Green's not there right now. John Ross has his chance. He's a better player than Tyler Boyd. I'm just sorry. He's more talented than Tyler Boyd. I'm not saying he's maybe not a better player right now. He hasn't been. But he has more potential to be a better player, to be a much more dynamic player than Tyler Boyd. I really like John Ross. I've been a John Ross fan. I want this to be real. He is 100%, again, worth a pickup. Put him on your bench. Probably not necessarily going to start him next week unless you're in a spot, desperate situation. Maybe you need to. But yeah, pick up John Ross. A lot of other people are being a little bit slower to this one and not necessarily, wanting to believe it. But I'm going to. I'm gonna buy in here. And I think it's going to be something for real. So let's go to my next waiver wire ad. It's going to be another wide receiver. There's a few running backs down the list, but at the top of the list right now, it's all wide receivers. And this one's going to be John Brown. Another name. We've talked about him many times before on this show. And again, it's another player that we've saw, a great season from him early on in his career in Arizona. And he hasn't quite lived up to that since. But he's going to be the number one here for Buffalo. He ended up with 7 catches, 123 yards. He got a touchdown. If he can stay healthy, and Buffalo's going to have to throw the ball around a lot. It's just going to happen that way. John Brown could have a really good season, and I pick him up, put him on my team. This is one that it's just health. A lot of these players, it's health. John Ross, it's health. John Brown, it's health. But he has the talent to do it, and this could be for real. Next up, another wide receiver. I'm going to go with Terry McLaurin from Washington, the rookie. Put up a great game in his first action in the NFL with 5 catches, 125 yards, and a touchdown. He's definitely they released Josh Doxson to put McLaurin there as a starter. He's out there. Case Keenum looked surprisingly impressive. I didn't quite expect that at all, but Case Keenum, better than I guess we gave him credit for. And there really isn't anybody to throw the ball to there. I mean, McLaurin, why can't he be the number one on this team? There's not the receivers there. Paul Richardson's out there, Trey Quinn. I mean, that's about it. There's just not a lot of options. Jordan Reed, he's out again this week. Vernon Davis is going to get some, but yeah, Terry McLaurin, I pick him up. I'm very intrigued by what he could pull off here, what he could do. Now, without Darius Geis for a bit, I don't think the offense really suffers too much. Adrian Peterson can step in. So if Case Keenum can play like he did, McLaurin's going to be a really good pickup. Next up, I'm going to throw Mecole Hardman here, just because of the Tyreek Hill injury. It looks like it's going to be a lengthy one, at least maybe 5, 6, 7 weeks kind of a thing. Sammy Watkins looked great. He's going to, get majority of the work, it looks like now. Travis Kelce will. But Hardman, I could see them trying to get him involved now a little bit more with Tyreek Hill out. So this could be another interesting pickup. I'm not as, sold on this, obviously. He didn't do anything week 1. This is a more, shot in the dark here. But could be worth an ad if you have that bench spot. Don't go picking him up right now if you actually have to release someone of value. So other than that, I'll take a chance there. Let's go to the tight end side. TJ Hawkinson, in his first game in the NFL, just put up ridiculous numbers. I think it was a record for receiving yards for a rookie tight end. He is going to be involved, I think, all year. He's going to be. He had 6 for 131, 1 touchdown. He's ready. There's a reason why he was drafted in the top 10 by the Lions. I guess they kind of maybe knew what they were doing there. And most Lions fans don't really believe they did. But hey, Hawkinson's making them believe a little bit. So Hawkinson is worth the pickup, especially for anybody that waited on tight end and picked one late. I'd much rather have Hawkinson over the, Jimmy Grahams or the Jack Doyles, Eric Ebrons, Kyle Rudolphs, those kind of players. If you waited, Greg Olsen, if you picked one of those guys and waited, I'm going Hawkinson. Hawkinson over Austin Hooper for me as well, even. I'm going Hawkinson. And then Darren Waller. I'll go with Darren Waller. I'm actually recording this during the Raiders-Broncos game going on. And Waller's been targeted a lot early on. I think he's going to be involved in this offense, all season. He's going to be a player to keep keep in mind and watch all season. He's going to have some really good games, I believe. And again, it's another one of these. If you need a tight end, pick Waller. It could be, I think you might have a good player here. Let's go running backs. These are still some backup running backs, really. There isn't anything that's a guy's going to step into a role right now. There's no number one waiver wire pickup here. You're not going to waste your number one claim if you're playing in, that type of system and picking up one of these guys, especially at running back. So my top one, you know what? A lot of people are going to pick Gio Bernard. He's on my list, but he's not my top pick. I think I'm going to go Alexander Mattison as my top running back. And the fact is, it's just the Vikings, I believe, are going to be able to run the ball no matter what this year. Cook looked great, but Mattison looked pretty good as well when he had the shot. Now, this is completely just a, if Cook went down type situation, Mattison will become a very good option. So he needs to be owned in every league right now. He was 13.4% owned. I think he's one of the better handcuffs you could have right now. So pick up Alexander Madison. And then I'll go to another handcuff, which, again, I'm not the biggest fan of handcuffing players all the time, but Malcolm Brown looks to be the clear guy behind Gurley right now. He's only owned in 6.5% of leagues. He definitely was well ahead of Darrell Henderson, and he looked pretty decent. So if Gurley is to go down completely at some point, which, there's the risk there with that knee, I think Malcolm Brown steps in and does a good job. So go pick up Malcolm Brown. And then Gio Bernard. We might as well take Gio Bernard here with Joe Mixon's injury. Doesn't look like it's going to be too serious. It's even where he could possibly play this week. If he doesn't, Gio's a decent pickup. I mean, we've seen this from Gio Bernard a lot in the past, and he's been able to play well at times. He disappoints at others, but it's if you're needing a running back for the week, you can use him. He's going to be a fine play. Another guy, Carlos Hyde here. He just makes our list at 39.4%. There's some other guys, if you're thinking like Ronald Jones or players like that. Ronald Jones might be ahead of him for me, but he's over the threshold of 40%. So Carlos Hyde, 39.4%. He was able to get 10 carries in his first game tonight, but he turned that 10 carries into 83 yards. Looked pretty good there. We'll see if that increases as he goes along. He's still only been there for just a couple weeks. He just was traded there not too long ago. So I think he's going to become more involved, and, he surprisingly looked pretty good. I honestly can't say I expected that from Carlos Hyde. I really wasn't expecting much, but hey, he looked pretty decent. So we'll see if that can continue. And how about, I'll go Chris Thompson. Chris Thompson, Washington, with the word that Darius Geis is out. This doesn't really change that. Peterson will step into the Geis role, but Thompson's involved. Maybe this is more for PPR purposes. He only had 3 carries for 10 yards, but he did get 7 catches for 68. He's back to his old role he had, previously a couple of years ago, and he's a very good PPR option here. If he's going to get this 7 catches a game, it's a great player to plug into your lineup and going to get some decent points. He's going to catch the ball every week. And that's probably all I got for waiver. Maybe Danny Amendola's down there. He played well for Detroit. I just don't think that's a thing. I wouldn't waste any really pick up on him unless you're desperate, I guess. Not gonna go for that one. AJ Brown from Tennessee looked pretty decent, but then again, that was only 3 catches, did turn into 100 yards. Well, I got to see a little more from that. You got some Devin Funchess is out now with a broken collarbone for the Colts, so maybe Deion Kane or Paris Campbell steps up. It's another one to just watch. I wouldn't go necessarily looking to pick them up right now, but it could turn into something. Once again, we're brought to you by MyBookie again today. Thanks to MyBookie for jumping on board with us again this season. So, week 1 of the NFL is almost done. Raiders, Broncos still going. But, if you're like me, it was awesome to have the NFL back. And you might want to get in on a little of the action there on betting on some of these games. Go to mybookie.com, use our promo code PROPHET, PROPHET, and get involved. They will double your first deposit, so this is the perfect time to get in there and do that. I'm kind of looking at if it goes the way the first week went, you're going to go take whoever's playing the Dolphins. You'll give away all those points. Doesn't matter. Who cares? And go and bet whoever's playing the Dolphins to beat them. So like this week we got Patriots, Dolphins. I don't care that the Dolphins are at home. You're going to probably take the Patriots no matter what here, right? They were just, Patriots looked amazing. Dolphins were terrible. But how about this point spread? What are we getting here? What are we at? 14.5 points? And now it's up to about 16.5 now, maybe. I don't think that's enough. I think Dolphins can't hang that close with the Patriots. So if you want to get involved with that, maybe make some easy money there, because who doesn't want that? Go to mybookie.com. Remember, enter the promo code PROPHET when you do that, and they'll double your first deposit. So make sure you get in on that as we head to week 2 of the NFL season. Well, all right, we've got a couple more games here to actually review that are getting done Monday night. And actually, before we get to the Monday night games, I don't know how this happened, but somehow I didn't even talk about the Jets last night when I was going through and we were going over the recap of week won their Sunday action, somehow missed the Jets. And I don't know how that's possible when Le'Veon Bell is one of the biggest stories there is to talk about, right? And how is he going to look in his first action, since 2017? And you know what? I thought he looked pretty good, actually. The numbers maybe aren't as terribly impressive as you might want. Let's see here. So what he ended up with: 17 carries, 60 yards, only 3.5 yards per carry. But you know what? He looked good. I really did think he looked good. And he got 6 catches, 32 yards. He got a touchdown there. For his first action back, I was happy with that, with what he did. I think he's only going to get better. So Le'Veon Bell should be, fine. He's Le'Veon Bell. I'm not worried at all. I think it was a good first outing and showed what he should be capable of. But almost the bigger story here was Jamison Crowder. 14 catches for 99 yards only, though. I think that was the first player in NFL history that had 14 catches and under 100 yards. So I guess that's impressive in its own right. But 17 targets? Man, this is going to be a just PPR monster if this continues. Standard is not as much, only 9.9 points of standard, but in PPR, he's going to be a monster if this continues, because he was it. Like, it was him and Bell getting the catches. Robbie Anderson only had 3 for 23, just wasn't involved. And Quincy Enunwa 1 for -4, just not there at all. So got to see if this is something that continues with Jamison Crowder, if he's just going to keep getting all these catches. Sam Darnold, 28-41, 175 and a touchdown. Not great. Didn't completely, hurt their chances at winning the game, but he needs to be better than that, if he's going to live up to his, draft status and how high he went and what people were expecting of him. As when he was picked third in the draft, he should have been people expecting big things from him. We'll see if that didn't show it here in week 1. So first game tonight, Saints Texans. What a game that was there. Saints go take the lead, or take a 6-point lead there with under a minute left. Texans drive right down the field, score a touchdown, and then the Saints come back and get the 58-yard field goal to win it. But both of these teams just showed how good their offenses are and how tough they're going to be all season. Deshaun Watson, 268 yards, 3 touchdowns, threw 1 pick, but he still looked really good. And DeAndre Hopkins just picked right back up where he left off. 8 catches, 111 yards, 2 touchdowns. Very, very impressive for DeAndre Hopkins. I guess shouldn't expect anything less. Hopkins is great. He's going to be great. There's a reason why he's ranked as the number 1 wide receiver. He's just that good. Will Fuller got 2 catches, 69 yards, 1 on a big 54-yard catch. Only 3 targets tonight, though, so not, it's just all going to Hopkins. There just wasn't much else out there. Duke Johnson actually had the second most targets with 5, and he caught 4 for 33. Carlos Hyde, actually, like I said earlier in the show, led the team in had 10 for 83, so he led the team in carries there. Duke Johnson had 9 for 57. Hyde, I think, is going to continue to, maybe get more carries as we go here. He looked, I don't know if he's more impressive. Johnson was fine. 6.3 yards per carry. He was good too. I don't know how it's going to play out, but they're both going to be usable. But Johnson, not as much as we hoped. Maybe just like when Lamar Miller went down, what we thought Johnson could be there we were extremely excited about that. He still had 90 total yards today, but I would like to see a little bit more volume. On the Saints side of things, Drew Brees, shaky, maybe a little bit of a shaky start, I guess, but hey, he's still Drew Brees, and he turned it into a great day with 370 yards, 2 touchdowns. He threw 10 of those to Michael Thomas, 10 for 123. No touchdowns for Thomas today, but hey, even when he can't get a touchdown, he's going to be extremely impressive out there. And Ted Ginn, 7 for 101. Didn't really necessarily see that coming, but great game for Ginn. On the ground, Alvin Kamara gets 13 carries, turns it into 97 yards. Just that's what he does. His yards per carry is great, as always. But again, still, he's not getting the huge carry volume, and I don't think he ever will. That's just not what Alvin Kamara is, but he doesn't need that to be a great fantasy player. So he turns into 97 yards on the ground, caught 7 balls for 72 yards. It's just what Alvin Kamara is, just that good. He doesn't need a huge volume there running the ball, and he's going to be an impressive player every week. Latavius Murray gets the touchdown, 6 carries, 43 yards. If you were a Latavius Murray guy, you started him, you would have hoped for some more carries, but he got the touchdown to make your day, decent. I know Jeff was happy with that touchdown at least, but he would like to see some more carries too. But overall, good game for Kamara. Murray, decent. Thomas, again. Jared Cook did his Jared Cook thing, 2 for 37. So now I guess we expect next week for him to blow up and have a huge game. But this is the problem with Jared Cook, and this is why we were not, buying into it so much, is he's going to have these 2 for 37s. It's just going to happen with him, and it does all the time. So it's hard to buy in. And man, it's so up and down. I just never can trust it, and I don't want Jared Cook as my tight end because of it. I just don't, and this is another example of that. So Raiders and Broncos just wrapped up final game of week 1 of the NFL season. Raiders get the 24-16 win. Derek Carr was extremely efficient today. Good game for him, 22 for 26, 259 and a touchdown. Not like a huge fantasy game, but just a good game overall. Josh Jacobs, loved what I saw there. They're only 3.7 yards per carry, but he had 23 carries, 85 yards, 1 catch for 28 yards, got 2 touchdowns on the ground. They're just going to feed him the ball. That's the thing I love about that. They're just going to it looks like they're going to keep giving Josh Jacobs the ball. And man, if that's the case, he's going to be a really good fantasy option week to week. Tyrell Williams, now the number 1 for Oakland, with Antonio Brown moving on to New England. And Tyrell Williams, 6 catches, 105 yards and a touchdown. Looked really impressive. And shoot, he's their number 1. It looks like this is going to be he's going to be a startable player every week. Darren Waller, talked about him in the waiver wire segment, ended up with 7 catches, 70 yards. Definitely worth an ad on the waiver wire if you need yourself a tight end. Not much else fantasy wise there from the Raiders side of things. Over on the Broncos side, Courtland Sutton looked really impressive with 7 catches, 120 yards. That was good to see from Courtland Sutton, a player that we've been hyping up. Well, I mean, more specifically, Jeff's been hyping up a lot. So that's great to see from Courtland Sutton. Sanders came back, 5 for 86 and a touchdown. Pretty solid game back coming from this, from the injury. So it was good to see from Emmanuel Sanders. On the ground, Phillip Lindsay and Royce Freeman they split the work. It is just a split right now. Lindsay got more catches. He had 4 for 23, but on the ground, it was Lindsay with 11 carries for 43 yards. Freeman had 10 carries for 56 yards with a 26-yard carry as his long there. It might just be split between the two of them for quite a while here. Don't know if anybody's going to break out from that. It might not be a great fantasy situation for anybody. Phillip Lindsay definitely doesn't look like he's going to put up numbers he did last year, and that's disappointing for anybody that kept Lindsay around, but I just don't know. I don't think that one of these guys is going to be able to break through from this. But that's it. That's it for week 1 NFL games. We've talked about all of them. If you want to hear about the games yesterday, go check out the podcast that came out on Monday. You can hear all of our reaction to the games there. I'll be back tomorrow